Did you ever talk to him late on Sunday night?
No, we were on the phone, but I mean, I had to let him go and get up and go to work.
That was the 9 to 11 call it was like a 2-hour phone call we talked about yesterday on Sunday night from 9 p.m. to 11.
And that would have been the last time that I talked to him until the work day on Monday.
Today is August 17th, 2018. The time is 10:51 a.m. This is Agent Kevin Kobach from CBI, making a phone call to witness in the Watts matter, Nichol Kessinger at 706569605. Nicole texted me last night and said that she recalled some further information after an interview with her on the 16th. So the phone call will be to update whatever information she wants to provide and address a couple other issues that were not addressed during the initial interview.
Hello.
Hi, Nikki. It's Kevin.
Hi.
How are you? Sorry for the delay. I got stuck in a meeting, obviously, couldn't walk out. So I apologize for taking so long to get back to you.
It's okay.
You at least got a couple hours of sleep last night?
Yes.
You sound a little bit better than yesterday.
I feel a little bit better, not much, but I feel like sitting down and just talking about all of that with everybody is like, it's helping.
Good. Well, I think just keep that up. And again, if you need, if I can put you in touch with somebody from a victim advocate to whatever I can help you with, just call and ask.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to need you to do that once we're done talking.
Okay, sure. I can get somebody in touch with you today. And you don't need to tell me about anything. We talked about that yesterday, but it might be something good for you to do, and I can make that happen today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So
just kind of odds and ends. And I'm sure there will be more as this goes on. I interacted with him so much that sometimes I just have to stop and think about how much information that I have gotten from him over the last few months and the last week or so. And, like I said, I never know what's true and what's not anymore.
Sure.
So I figure I'll just give you guys everything I have. And hopefully I don't have to keep calling you back with more, but no promises.
No, that's okay. Please do. Like I told you yesterday, anything that comes to mind that you think is important, I'd like to know. Because you know him better than anybody probably over the last 6 to 8 weeks. So that's anything that he said to you or anything that stands out to you as you're reflecting on all this kind of mess here is important for me to know.
Understood. Couple things. So one, I went back and I tried to find whatever text you were talking about between my friend Charlotte and me with the harmony thing, and I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Her and I text so much though. So if you find it and you show it to me, let me know. But it's just I was on that site, but it was never worth a damn for me. So it wasn't really something that I ever discussed with her. However, when I was going back through there, I did realize that I had offhandedly mentioned to her a little bit about Chris. I didn't tell her that I was how deep the rabbit hole went on that, I guess you could say, but it was kind of vague, and she was asking a lot of questions at that point, but it was just oh, you know what? I did say something to her.
You guys, I think I just looked at
needs space. You're just getting out of a divorce. Personally, I think jumping into a new relationship is a little quick. It's I was in a relationship earlier this year, and I think this is also a little quick. And I'm so why don't we take our time? And I'm if you guys end up doing a week on, a week off with your kids, I'm the week you have your kids, be with your children. And the week that you don't, I'm I don't even want to see you every day. I'm I think we should spend a few days of that together. I'm because I like my space, and I think you need your space. I think you need your space to develop your identity again and get it back, because I think he's just been so wrapped up in this whole thing that he's got in his own life and his life that he doesn't remember probably what it's like to be single or have time where it's just him.
Sure.
And so I was just embrace that. I think it's a beautiful thing, and I really try to like take it smart with all that. And it was the same thing with his kids. I was just like, like, and we talk about things every once in a while where I'd be like, hey, if I ever meet, because like I have a lot of house plants. That's a good example. So I have a lot of house plants, and I told him, I was like, one day if I ever meet your kids, I was like, I'm going to show these girls how to like paint pottery and plants. I was like, I think they would love to see something grow that they built. I think it would be really, really cute. And like little stuff like that, but it wasn't very frequent. It wasn't, hey, we should get married, and hey, we should have babies, and hey, I want to live with you, and hey, I need to meet your children now, and let's cut the mom out. It was never like that.
And there was never any conversation about, we can't do this with her around, we can't do this with the kids around. No. He never said that, you never said that.
No.
So the way you guys were trying to make this work was just, slowly trying to come together because of his current situation, and you, by your own account, mine. I mean, you're just a independent person. It sounds like pretty much,
yeah.
And but through text message or through conversation, he never said, "Hey, this isn't going to be financially able. I'm not going to be financially able to do this," or "This isn't a good thing. I got these kids." None of those conversations ever came up.
No. I mean, he told me like he had a budget restriction. So for his apartment, and I'm pretty sure this is in the text, and this will probably be in the last couple weeks, he told me $1,100 to $1,400 when I was asking him. Like, because I told him I'd help him do homework. I was like, you do some homework, I'll do some homework. We'll knock this out, because if you guys are for real putting the house up, you got to figure it out. And so that was his budget. And I remember asking him, I was like, you sure you don't want to just get like a house? And he's like, I never thought about a house. I'm like, yeah, you can rent houses, man. Like, it's a thing. And he's just like, I don't know if I can afford that. And I was like, okay. And I knew that those two had been through some financial trouble. I definitely found out a lot more about that situation in the newspaper recently.
Okay, so prior to the newspaper, how did you know he was in financial difficulty?
Because when I went to that house, everything in there is very, 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 very nice. With a very expensive price tag. And I didn't say anything to him about it, but I could kind of tell then where I was like just looking at everything like, how do you guys afford this? And then he has that car. I don't even know how much that car costs. But
What car is that?
That Lexus. I'm sure that thing costs like $80,000, but just like money. Like everything just looked like it costs a lot of money in that house.
You probably have a decent idea of how much money he makes.
Yeah, and it's not enough money to pay for all that. Not even close.
Did you have any idea of what Shanann did for a living or how much money she might have made?
I mean, I had an idea. I would consider her like a sales rep. I don't know how else to describe that. For the company that she worked for. And I don't know exactly how much she made. He said that she was really competitive and she liked to try to keep up with him. He's like, she gets close sometimes. So I don't know how much those two brought in. I mean, off the top of my head, if I could guess, probably somewhere around like $140K a year. I mean, I don't know. Because I don't know exactly how much he makes. And I don't know exactly how much she makes. But based just off of like what I know about the oil field, like, yeah, I would say that's probably an accurate estimate.
So even if they're making, let's just use the figure $100,000, they're living above their means or below their means?
Oh my God, like
way too much.
Way.
Did he ever discuss with you any of those issues?
I mean, a little. I mean, I didn't know about the bankruptcy or any of that until I read on the newspaper about that. But I think he was really frustrated with the situation. He told me, he's like, I feel like my paycheck goes in my bank account and I just watch it go like this. He's like, but it doesn't have to. He's like, she makes it like that. And I was just
was he resentful for that?
I don't know if he was resentful. I just think he was frustrated by the fact that they could be doing a lot better financially, and she, from the vibe that I got, had really bad spending habits.
So she was a spender. The car, hers or his?
I think it's hers.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that that's hers.
Do you know what other car they might have?
Well, I mean, his APC pickup truck.
And that's
it, I think.
That's owned by Anadarko, though, right?
Yeah. But so I don't think they own any other vehicles, as far as I know. I think it's just that thing.
And Anadarko doesn't allow him to drive that on his own personal time, right? No. So he's just got one vehicle.
Yep.
And it's a very expensive Lexus. and then they live in a pretty expensive house.
It's a huge house.
Yeah.
I was very taken back when I saw it. I was just like, whoa. How?
And then
you
the
guys,
fixtures inside caused you to pause.
everything was just like,
And then you mentioned today you read something about bankruptcy.
Yep.
What did you read?
that those guys filed bankruptcy for a lot of money in
Who are those guys?
to that couple
Okay,
in 2015. Oh, Shanann and Chris
thanks.
filed bankruptcy in 2015.
Okay, and you said for a lot of money. Do you recall the amount?
No, because it was different in each of the newspapers, and I don't know which one to believe.
Okay.
So, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, yeah, I
So-
didn't know that.
Let's go just back to him and the financial. He tells you he has a concern enough to at least express something to you that he's frustrated with the way she spends, or he's upset with working so hard and never having any money, and she's kind of she's the responsible party for spending most of the money.
I pretty much got that vibe. I mean, he just told me, he's like, we're house broke all the time. I was just like, that's unfortunate. And I asked him, I was like, do you have 401?
When the Watts investigation was unfolding in August 2018, detectives were racing against time. Shanann Watts and her daughters, Bella and Celeste, Cece Watts, had vanished, and every passing hour made the situation more urgent. Investigators were gathering surveillance footage, interviewing neighbors, reviewing phone records, and trying to determine exactly what had happened inside the Watts family home. At that stage, they were following every possible lead, knowing that even the smallest detail could prove critical. Then, another important development occurred. After seeing Chris Watts' name and photograph in news reports, Nichol Kessinger contacted law enforcement and agreed to speak with investigators. She acknowledged that she had been in a relationship with Chris Watts and voluntarily participated in interviews, providing information about their interactions in the weeks leading up to the murders. Rather than treating her statements as automatic proof, detectives did what they always do in major homicide investigations. They carefully documented her account and began comparing it with other evidence they had already collected. According to the publicly released investigative records, Nichol described her understanding of Chris Watts' personal life, the timeline of their relationship, and conversations they had shared before Shanann and the children disappeared. Detectives also obtained digital evidence, including phone records, text messages, and other electronic data, which allowed them to independently verify parts of the timeline she described. This process of corroboration is a cornerstone of criminal investigations, ensuring that witness accounts are tested against objective evidence. Her interviews became one piece of a much larger investigative puzzle. Alongside surveillance footage, forensic evidence, digital records, and Chris Watts' own statements, they helped investigators develop a clearer picture of the events leading up to the murders. While her information added context to the case, it was the combined weight of all the evidence, not any single interview, that strengthened the investigation. If you enjoy respectful, evidence-based true crime documentaries that separate verified facts from speculation, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. In the next chapter, we'll take a closer look at Nichol Kessinger's first interviews with investigators, examine what she revealed about her relationship with Chris Watts, and explain how detectives worked to verify every significant statement she made before incorporating it into the official investigation. When Nichol Kessinger sat down with investigators for her first interviews, detectives approached the conversation the same way they would with any potential witness in a major homicide investigation. Their objective was simple: establish a clear timeline, determine what she knew, and compare every significant detail with the evidence already being collected. Rather than relying solely on her recollection, investigators documented her statements carefully and began verifying them through independent sources. During those interviews, Nichol described how she had met Chris Watts through work and explained that they had developed a relationship in the weeks before the murders. She also discussed what Chris had told her about his marriage. According to her statements, she believed he was in the process of separating from his wife. Detectives noted these details but did not simply accept them as fact. Instead, they compared her account with text messages, phone records, internet searches, and other digital evidence to determine whether the timeline she described matched the available records. As the interviews continued, investigators asked detailed questions about phone calls, meetings, vacations, and conversations she had shared with Chris Watts. They were particularly interested in the days immediately before Shanann Watts and her daughters disappeared. By comparing Nichol's interview with electronic records and Chris Watts' own statements, detectives were able to identify where the accounts aligned and where additional questions remained. This careful process of corroboration is standard practice in homicide investigations because witness memories alone are never considered sufficient evidence. One of the reasons these interviews became significant is that they helped investigators understand Chris Watts' activities and state of mind in the weeks leading up to the crimes. However, it's important to recognize that the investigation did not depend on a single witness. Every statement was evaluated alongside surveillance footage, forensic findings, cell phone data, financial records, and other independently verified evidence. Together, these sources created a much stronger and more reliable picture than any one interview could provide on its own. If you're finding this evidence-based breakdown informative, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Your support helps us continue creating respectful true crime documentaries that focus on verified facts rather than speculation. In the next chapter, we'll examine which parts of Nichol Kessinger's interviews investigators found particularly useful, how they verified those details, and why the combination of witness testimony and physical evidence ultimately strengthened the case against Chris Watts. As detectives continued reviewing Nichol Kessinger's interviews, they focused on identifying information that could be independently verified. Every timeline she described, every phone call she mentioned, and every meeting she recalled was compared against digital evidence collected during the investigation. Rather than relying on a single witness, investigators built the case by connecting multiple pieces of evidence until they formed a consistent picture of what had happened. One area detectives examined closely was Chris Watts' behavior in the weeks leading up to the murders. Nichol described conversations they had shared, future plans they had discussed, and changes she noticed in his demeanor. Investigators compared those statements with text messages, phone records, internet searches, financial transactions, and GPS data. In many instances, the digital evidence helped establish when the two had communicated and how their relationship had developed. This information provided additional context as detectives worked to understand Chris Watts' activities before the crimes. Investigators also looked carefully at the days immediately before Shanann Watts and her daughters disappeared. They reconstructed a detailed timeline by combining witness interviews, surveillance footage, cell phone records, and Chris Watts' own statements. As more evidence was analyzed, detectives found that many independent sources supported the overall sequence of events. This process of corroboration strengthened the investigation because no single piece of evidence stood alone. Instead, each source reinforced the others, creating a comprehensive picture that prosecutors could confidently present. It's important to remember that while Nichol Kessinger's interviews contributed useful information, they did not by themselves solve the case. The investigation was built on forensic science, digital evidence, surveillance video, witness testimony, and Chris Watts' own admissions. Her statements became valuable because investigators were able to compare them with objective evidence rather than treating them as unquestioned fact. If you're enjoying this evidence-based breakdown, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who appreciate fact-focused true crime documentaries. Your support helps us continue producing carefully researched content that prioritizes evidence over speculation. In the next chapter, we'll examine how all of these different pieces of evidence came together, why investigators believe they had an exceptionally strong case, and how the combined weight of the evidence ultimately led to one of the most closely watched guilty pleas in modern true crime history.
Oh, I was just like, all right. I mean, I don't try to like interfere with how those two interact. But I did ask about it because I'm just curious, because I would never put myself in a situation where someone was like, you know what, we're going to live in this house that costs like double what we can afford, and that's how it's going to be, because I want everybody to think we're fancy. Because I wouldn't do that. I mean, to me, like, I wouldn't put up with somebody doing that to me. And I'm not saying that that's what she was doing. I mean, for all I know, he could have been completely lying about this. He could be the one spending all the money.
Sure.
You know?
This is just what he told you.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's as far as I can interpret it. So I can't be like, well, oh, she needs to do this and she needs to do that. But he voiced his concern where it's just like, financially, I'm in a very bad spot that I don't need to be in, but I'm stuck in. And that was kind of where he was at. So, but I mean, he was never like mean when he talked about her. He was never hostile, like nothing like that. He just, I mean, very calmly, like, this is the situation. And I think the only reason that he even provided me with that information is because I asked.
Okay. You said something about her being controlling or
Bossy.
bossy
That's what he said. Bossy.
in like all aspects of their life, or what? Do you know exactly what he meant by that? How that affected him?
I think he was just saying when he voices his opinion, it's not her. Is the gist of that, which I thought, from what it sounded like from their separation, from them trying to separate, that was a big deal for him, where he was saying that the reason that they don't really get along anymore is because he feels like he's not heard. He says that he comes home from work and he tries to talk to her and she'll just be like, 1 minute, I'm on the phone. Or she'll like scroll through social media and she like doesn't acknowledge him. And he said that he'd addressed it with her a few times and they're calm. He said they don't really like fight. Like they don't scream and yell. And he said he'd addressed it with her a few times and he said it just fell on deaf ears. He's like, she just seems like she's not interested anymore. And I think it made him sad.
By the time investigators had finished analyzing the evidence, the picture of what had happened had become much clearer. It wasn't one interview, one text message, or one piece of forensic evidence that solved the case. Instead, detectives built the investigation by carefully combining surveillance footage, cell phone records, digital communications, forensic findings, witness interviews, and Chris Watts' own changing statements. Each new piece of evidence was used to verify or challenge the others, creating a timeline that became increasingly difficult to dispute. Nichol Kessinger's interviews were one part of that larger process. The information she provided helped investigators better understand Chris Watts' activities, his communications, and aspects of his personal life in the weeks leading up to the murders. However, detectives consistently relied on independent verification rather than accepting any witness account without confirmation. By comparing her statements with electronic records and other evidence, investigators were able to determine which details aligned with the documented timeline. As the investigation progressed, prosecutors became increasingly confident in the strength of the case. The evidence presented a consistent narrative supported by multiple independent sources. Surveillance footage, digital data, witness testimony, and forensic analysis all reinforced one another. This comprehensive approach is one reason the Watts investigation is often cited as an example of how modern technology can assist traditional detective work in building a criminal case. Although Nichol Kessinger's interviews attracted considerable public attention, investigators never suggested that her statements alone solved the case. Instead, they viewed her cooperation as one valuable component of a much broader investigation. Every major conclusion rested on the combined weight of corroborated evidence rather than on any single witness or interview. That methodical approach helped ensure the investigation remained focused on verified facts instead of assumptions. If you found this evidence-based breakdown helpful, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support allows us to continue producing carefully researched true crime documentaries that explain complex investigations with accuracy and respect. In our final chapter, we'll reflect on the lasting lessons from the Watts investigation.
Okay. Pop up. Papa, see.
Mommy!
Pop up, see my nose hair. Alright, you ready?
Yeah, go!
Set.
Go!
Oh, you're hanging off. That way. Cece.
Don't you do it.
Alright. Oh, where are you going, seatbelt?
Hang on, Bella. Cece.
Oh! Hey, pull my pants down, kid. You think I'm made of steel or something? Hey, hold on.
Get down. Get all down.
Here, Cece. Cece, you want to do it again? Yeah. Okay. Watch your toes.
Get my phone.
Give me the phone, Cece.
I see you, Celeste.
I got the phone.
Huh?
Try to balance yourself out a little more, kiddo.
Bella, don't jump.
Why evidence remains the cornerstone of justice, and why the memories of Shanann, Bella, Cece, and baby Nico should always remain at the heart of this story, rather than the individuals questioned during the investigation. As we come to the end of this documentary, one important lesson stands out above everything else. Successful criminal investigations are rarely built on a single interview or a single piece of evidence. In the Watts case, detectives combined forensic science, digital records, surveillance footage, witness testimony, and Chris Watts' own admissions to reconstruct what happened. Nichol Kessinger's interviews contributed useful information to that process, but they were only one part of a much larger investigation that relied on corroborated evidence at every stage. Looking back, it's clear why investigators devoted so much effort to verifying every detail. Modern homicide investigations depend on objective evidence that can be independently confirmed. Cell phone records establish timelines, surveillance cameras document movements, forensic science reveals physical facts, and witness interviews provide context that investigators can compare against everything else. It is this careful process, not speculation, that ultimately strengthens a criminal case. The public interest surrounding the Watts case has remained strong for years, leading to countless discussions, documentaries, and online theories. Yet the most enduring lesson isn't found in rumors or sensational headlines. It's found in the professionalism of the investigators who patiently followed the evidence wherever it led, ensuring that every major conclusion was supported by documented facts. That commitment to evidence helped bring the case to a legal conclusion and demonstrated why careful investigative work remains the foundation of justice. Most importantly, however, this story should always return to the people whose lives were taken. Shanann Watts, Bella Watts, Celeste, Cece Watts, and baby Nico deserve to be remembered not because of the tragedy that ended their lives, but because of the love they shared as a family. Their memories continue to inspire compassion, and they remain at the heart of every respectful conversation about this case. No interview, court proceeding, or media headline should ever overshadow the lives they lived or the people who continue to mourn them. Thank you for watching this evidence-based examination of one of the most discussed aspects of the Watts investigation. If you found this documentary informative, please like, subscribe, and share to support more carefully researched true crime content that separates verified facts from speculation while honoring victims with dignity and respect. Your support helps us continue creating responsible documentaries that put truth first and ensure that Shanann, Bella, Cece, and baby Nico are remembered with the compassion and respect they deserve.